Picture two cars sitting in the same parking lot. Same brand, same engine family, same age. One sounds tired at 140,000 miles, burns oil, rattles on cold starts, and feels like it's living on borrowed time. The other one starts clean, idles smooth, and just keeps going past 250,000, 300,000, sometimes way beyond what most people think is normal. That gap usually doesn't come from luck. It usually comes from years of tiny maintenance decisions stacking up in one direction or the other. Here's the thing. A lot of engines don't die because of one dramatic failure. They wear out a little at a time. And one of the biggest reasons is oil that stayed in the engine too long, got contaminated, broke down, and quietly stopped protecting the parts that mattered most. That's why the so-called Japanese oil change secret really isn't a secret at all. It's disciplined maintenance. No magic bottle, no miracle additive, no internet myth, just the boring habit of keeping clean, correct oil in the engine before the old oil turns into a problem. If you like practical car advice that helps engines last longer, subscribe, because this is exactly the kind of stuff that saves people money. A lot of drivers know oil is important, but most don't really think about what it's doing. Engine oil isn't just there to make things slippery. It creates a protective film between moving metal parts. It helps carry heat away from hot components. It keeps contaminants suspended so they can be trapped by the filter instead of sticking inside the engine. It also helps protect parts like bearings, camshafts, timing components, and in turbo engines, the turbo itself, which lives in brutal heat. When that oil is fresh and the right viscosity, the engine has a fighting chance. When it's old, thinned out, oxidized, loaded with fuel, moisture, soot, and debris, protection starts dropping. Not all at once. Slowly, quietly. That's the part people miss. And this is where engines slowly start wearing out. A lot of long-lasting Japanese engines got their reputation because the owners didn't play games with maintenance. They didn't wait for the engine to sound bad. They didn't assume it still runs fine meant everything inside was fine. They treated oil service like basic upkeep, not optional spending. That sounds boring, but boring maintenance is exactly what keeps engines alive. Now, to be fair, I'm not saying oil changes magically make every engine indestructible. Some engines have design flaws. Some have cooling issues, fuel dilution issues, timing problems, or just bad luck. But consistent oil maintenance is one of the biggest differences between engines that die early and engines that keep going forever. A huge mistake people make is stretching oil intervals because the car still feels normal. The crazy part is, the engine can still feel fine while wear builds internally. You usually don't get a warning when varnish starts forming, when sludge begins collecting in cooler areas, or when tiny abrasive particles keep circulating through places that depend on a strong oil film. And then years later, people say the engine just started using oil, or these engines always go bad around this mileage. Sometimes that's true, but sometimes the engine spent the last 80,000 miles being slowly sanded down by neglect. Most drivers delay oil changes for simple reasons. Life gets busy, the car is running okay, money feels tight that month, the sticker in the window gets ignored, or they hear one person say every 3,000 miles, another say 10,000 is fine, and they just guess. But your driving habits matter more than people realize. If you mostly do short trips, your oil has a harder life. Cold starts are tough. Moisture builds up. Fuel can dilute the oil. The engine may not stay hot long enough to burn that contamination off. Lots of stop-and-go traffic, very hot weather, dusty conditions, towing, and repeated short runs all count as harder service. Most drivers never think about this, because the trip to work is only 10 minutes and the car seems happy. But that kind of use can age oil faster than easy highway driving. And this next habit makes a bigger difference than people realize. Use the oil viscosity the engine was designed for, not what your cousin swears by, not what feels thicker so it must protect better. Modern engines are built around specific oil flow characteristics. Too thick, and you can hurt cold start protection and circulation. Too thin or low quality for the application, and you may lose protection when things get hot. The owner's manual matters here more than random forum arguments. The filter matters too, even though nobody gets excited about oil filters. Oil doesn't stay clean on its own. The filter's job is to catch the junk the oil is carrying around. If the filter is poor quality, overloaded, or left on too long, contamination control gets worse. And again, this isn't the kind of damage you feel right away. It's the slow kind, the expensive kind. Long-lasting engines usually aren't lucky. They're protected from years of unnecessary friction, heat stress, and contamination. That protection shows up in the places you never see. Cleaner ring packs, healthier bearings. Less sludge in oil passages, better timing chain life, better turbo survival, fewer sticky hydraulic components. It's all connected. Now, does that mean you need to obsess over oil every weekend? No, this doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be consistent. Follow the manual. Respect the oil life monitor if your car has one. But also be honest about how you drive. If your use is mostly short trips, cold starts, stop and go, heat, dust, towing, or hard driving, don't treat your car like it's living an easy highway life. This is one of those boring maintenance habits that quietly saves engines. And there's another part people overlook. Time matters too, not just mileage. Some drivers barely put miles on their cars, so they assume the oil can stay in there forever. But oil still ages. Moisture and contaminants don't care that you only drove 2,000 miles this year. If your driving pattern is all short runs, and the engine rarely gets fully hot for long, low mileage can actually fool people into neglecting the engine. The surprising part is, the secret is usually consistency, not some miracle product, not fancy branding, not one expensive service. Just changing the oil before it becomes heavily degraded, using the correct spec, and not pretending severe driving is normal driving. I'm curious about this one. What's the highest mileage engine you've personally seen still running well? Drop it in the comments, because those stories are always interesting, and they almost always have one thing in common. Somebody stayed on top of maintenance. If your goal is to keep a car for a long time, think about oil changes as protection for future you. Future you who doesn't want timing noise, oil consumption, sludge problems, turbo failure, or a repair bill that wipes out months of savings. Most engine wear happens slowly over years, and this is where disciplined maintenance changes everything. So when people talk about Japanese engines lasting forever, the honest answer is this. Some of them last a very long time because they were well designed, yes, but also because somebody kept feeding them clean oil on time, over and over, for years. That's not flashy. It's not a hack. It's not exciting content for a thumbnail, but it's real. If your engine is going to have a long life, it probably won't be because of one heroic repair. It'll be because of dozens of ordinary oil changes that happened before trouble showed up. That's how engines make it to impressive mileage without feeling worn out long before they should. And that's actually good news, because it means engine longevity isn't completely mysterious. You have some control over it. Not total control, but real influence. Clean oil, correct oil, good filters, honest intervals, and a little discipline go a long way. Subscribe if you want more simple maintenance advice that helps avoid expensive engine problems, because the best way to save money on a car usually isn't buying magic products. It's doing the basic stuff early enough that the engine never has to beg for help.